Meteorologist Ben Tanner answers the burning questions about Columbia's weather on this episode of Around Town TV. I'm joined today by longtime Columbia meteorologist, TV weatherman, Ben Tanner.
Yeah, we've been friends a long time.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you could join us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ben, tell me, for people who are just moving to Columbia or not familiar with the climate, what's the overall picture of Columbia's weather?
The weather is humid subtropical. For us, that means we have temperatures in the summertime, the heat of the summer, mid-July into August, that are about 92 for the average.
On average, right?
92 to 93, and then the morning lows are between 70 and 73 degrees on average. And then we get the thunderstorms every afternoon.
Right, that can cool things down.
Cools it down perfectly.
But might increase the humidity.
But when you look at the long term throughout the year, we have more sunny days than we do rainy days here in South Carolina.
But what about our winters? Do we have does it get really cold?
We average less than 1 inch of snow.
Is it even measurable at less than 1 inch?
It is measurable. So it's like 0.98 for the year here in South Carolina, in Columbia.
In Columbia.
And the average low temperature is 33 degrees at the very coldest section of the winter, which is late January into February.
Of course, we might have those days that dip down into the 20s, but the next day it's going to be gone.
Yes.
What about the spring and the fall and the seasons in between there? So.
Well,
do we have a spring and a fall?
We do, and we did this year, but you talk about, a lot of people in South Carolina, they think about severe weather. So our big severe weather catalysts are, of course, tropical season. And so that's going to be your August into September, the peak being right there in the middle to latter part of September. But we have two major severe weather outbreak possibilities in South Carolina, and that's going to be spring, late April into May. It happens in March, but late April into May, and then you have a secondary in November of every year.
And what you're talking about you're talking about the tropical systems, the tropical storms and the hurricanes that will occasionally hit us here in South Carolina.
In the summertime into the early fall, but the severe weather outbreaks, those are driven by cold fronts, really, that move our direction.
Good. Ben, tell us a little bit about the number of sunny days in Columbia or in the Midlands versus the number of rainy days.
And what's funny is we have all the different expressions: sunny, partly cloudy, partly sunny, mostly
cloudy.
What
all those mean
skies.
anyway?
I know.
It's either sunny or it's not.
It has to do with the percentage of cloud cover, but if you actually look at the stats, South Carolina, and specifically Columbia, South Carolina, has far more sunny days than we do overcast days. So 365 in a year, we're looking at 200 plus sunny days, quote unquote sunny days, and then in the 100s in the rainy / overcast days.
And all those overcast days, it's not necessarily raining. It just means that there are clouds in the sky.
That's exactly right.
Ben, a lot of times visitors to Columbia will say, "Man, it is so humid here."
Right.
Tell me a little bit about humidity.
Okay, so one of the biggest misconceptions from just speaking with people here in my neighborhood and across South Carolina is that humidity spikes in the afternoon. It does not. Humidity goes down throughout the day. Dew point, the difference between the dew point temperature and the actual temperature, that really is what calculates your humidity. So in the afternoons, the humidity values are very down here in South Carolina, but nonetheless, people have that misconception.
And we get a day like today. Tell me about today. This is in June.
Yep, so we're looking at today in June, early to mid-June, where we have temperatures that are in the lower 90s. We have dew points that are in the lower 70s. It feels about 3 to 4 degrees warmer than the actual temperature. But you look back through history, and when we roll through July into August and the dew points get higher and higher, then the afternoon heat indices or the heat index goes up.
It feels a little warm.
Yeah, it feels like 100, 105, and then you get your heat advisories that are issued.
Okay. How many days, you mentioned 100, how many days do we have that actually exceed 100 degrees on average?
Didn't have any last summer.
None, not one.
And none officially so far that I've seen at all the observation offices here in Columbia so far, but we've gone through summers where we've had 10, 15, 20, 25 plus.
So famously hot Columbia.
It works.
Yes,
it works.
It's warm.
And a lot of people ask why, and you think about that. So we sit kind of in a little bit of a bowl. Our elevation 250, 300 feet above sea level, and very little breeze because we're 100 miles or so from the ocean. And you've got the showers that try to come over the mountains and they can't make it because they get rained out.
So where are we as far as, compare us to say the coast, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Beaufort, temperature-wise versus Greenville, Spartanburg in the upstate? Is it really a big difference?
It is a big difference. So our average high, again, the heat of the summer is in the lower 90s, 92, 93 degrees. Here in Columbia, you get to Charleston, it's only about 90, but their heat index is much higher. Greenville, though, will average about 5 degrees cooler.
And that's because of the elevation in the mountains.
Yeah, the elevation, they get a little more breeze coming off, and yeah, you're exactly right.
Then we talked about the differences in from the coast to South Carolina, the mountains of the Piedmont. What about other places along our same latitude?
And the comparisons you're talking about, and I appreciate you asking that, because people say, oh, Columbia's the hottest place in the Southeast. That's not true at all.
Right?
It really is not.
Sometimes it feels like it.
It feels like it, but if you were to compare just numbers to numbers, average high temperatures, Augusta's hotter. Both the airports over in Augusta, hotter than Columbia,
really?
But it's within like maybe a half a degree, but it is.
It's hotter. Hey, hotter's hotter.
And then I used to do a fabulous segment that I thought every night when I was on the nightcast, comparing the heat index during the afternoons and what were the highest that particular day. Statesboro, Georgia.
Statesboro, Georgia.
Always won, home of Georgia Southern. That's right. They would easily have a 122, 123 heat index during the summertime.
So even though sometimes it might feel like it's just horribly hot here, there's places that are hotter.
There are places, most definitely,
right.
South Georgia for sure.
So here we are, like I said, in June. It's a 90-degree day. It's a beautiful day in Columbia. This is pretty typical to what we're going to get in the summertime, and it's just a great place to live. What happens? What do you do? What do people do when to beat the heat when it gets hotter?
Jump in the water.
Yeah.
Jump in the water.
Lots of different opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the cold, and I've spoken to so many friends, I mean, there's so many people that have moved here for that very reason, because wintertime's just brutal. You can't go outside. You can't go outside. You're shoveling snow all the time. You're trying to navigate down the roadway. It's no fun. Here, you get a little hot, you turn on the AC, thankfully, 2018. And you enjoy some of our beautiful lakes and rivers here in South Carolina.
And in the winter times, it's not ever going to be so cold that we have to bundle up and shut down, and we can still get out and move about.
Most definitely. We'll get maybe a snow once a year. That 1 inch we talked about earlier, a little less than an inch.
And they'll close all the schools.
And they will.
Just the threat of the threat.
And then the black ice the next day, they'll close them again.
We've had that discussion here once before. So thank you, Ben. I appreciate you being here. Thanks. I'm Flynn Bowie, your Columbia mortgage lender. If you're looking for some information about the Midlands, please reach out. Give me a call, drop me a text. I've been here for more than 40 years, and I love to talk about my home. If you're looking to buy a house, I'd be honored to help you with your mortgage. And if you need an introduction to a real estate agent, I work with top realtors all over the Midlands, and I'd be happy to make that connection. On Around Town TV, we talk about all things local Columbia, things to do, places to go, just stuff you should know. If you want to subscribe, there's a button down there at the bottom, the red button. Go ahead and hit it. And there's a little bell next to it. If you hit that, anytime we put up something new, you'll get notified. Thanks for tuning in today, and welcome to the Midlands of South Carolina.